Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On the Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Orduna. This is my mom, Gina.
He's the journalist.
She's the enthusiast.
I am enthusiastic because I think we have a really fun topic to talk about today.
Yes, we do have a fun topic we're talking about today. We had a huge weekend in the NFL, and that's dealing with Super Bowl 51 and a lot of the great things that happened this weekend. We had the NFL honors, we had the Hall of Fame inductees, and just a bunch of great stuff that took place in Houston.
And a little game that happened in the middle of that.
It was just a big weekend in NFL. I'm a little sad because that means the NFL season is done, football season is done, but we move on to other sports. But we want to quickly talk about just who won the game. We had the Patriots that won. Tom Brady got his 5th ring. And
overtime,
it was a big comeback, and so everyone is happy if you're a Patriots fan. But let's talk about some of the other things that went on. We had the Hall of Fame inductees that got nominated. They were nominated, and then they're now in the Hall of Fame. I know you got a list of some of the other players within the NFL honors. We have the Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. We've got the Walter Payton of the Year. We've got 2 winners for that as well. And then we also have the Coach of the Year that we want to talk about as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on here. So why don't you go ahead and list off some of these guys, and we'll chit-chat about what happened there.
Absolutely. And I think what the NFL has done well is the Super Bowl is still a bowl game. Like, everybody who watches college sports knows that there's bowls. This is a bowl game. It's the bowl game. It's the Super Bowl. And they brought the pageantry back to it. They're televising their awards, televising the Hall of Fame inductees. So, just real quick, the NFL honors, they give out the Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, and that went to Matt Ryan, who also was the MVP. Then they gave out the Defensive Player of the Year, who went to Khalil Mack of the Raiders. Then they give the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and that went to Dak Prescott, and he was up against his teammate Ezekiel Elliott. Then the Defensive Rookie of the Year went to Joey Bosa. Then Coach of the Year, our very own Andy Reid was up, but it went to Jason Garrett of the Cowboys. Right. Then you had your you had your Owner of the Year, not Owner of the Year, that's the Hall of Fame. Then you had your Walter Payton Man of the Year, and this year they split it and gave it to 2 people. Gave it to it wasn't really split, but they gave it to Larry Fitzgerald and Eli Manning, and they both got the Walter Payton Man of the Year for the things that they did in the community, which I think was great. And I love that they televised it. It's a Key and Peele. Key and Peele
are a duo on Comedy Central.
He was the MC and did a great job.
Keegan-Michael Key was the host for this year's NFL honors, and he did a good job.
He did. It was one of the award shows I actually enjoyed watching. Some of them I just turned off, but it was really great. It was almost ESPYs-esque, and it was really good. But at the end of it, they bring out the Hall of Fame inductees, and you get to see who's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And this year you had
good class this year.
It was. There's 7 people that made it, and I already alluded to it. Jerry Jones came in as an owner, which was really cool for him. Then you had some people you may not know. Morton Anderson's a little bit older. But then you had Jason Taylor, Kenny Easley, Terrell Davis, Kurt Warner, and LaDainian Tomlinson. Now, you had a LaDainian poster on your wall forever.
Yeah, I still do, actually. He's a great running back. Yes, Jason Taylor, great defensive player. Terrell Davis, we all know from the Broncos, great running back. Super Bowl champion, obviously. Then Kurt Warner as well, Morton Anderson. There's some great
Kurt Warner had on the best purple suit ever in the history of velvet. I want to get that suit. That's my favorite color.
Good for him for wearing that.
Well, there was one notable absence from the Hall of Fame, and that was T.O.
Yeah, Terrell Owens. He, you could say he got snubbed again this year. Now, this is just his second ballot chance to really get in there. But, you know, a lot of people feel like he should be in right now. When you just look at his statistics on paper, he's basically leading all categories, or he's number 2 in all the categories.
Most categories, yeah.
And a lot of people say when it comes to something like that, when someone is that high up on the ranks when it comes to statistics, they should be Hall of Fame status. And I think he is Hall of Fame status, but I think there's a lot of new rules that aren't put in place, or they're not written down, that are keeping him from being in the Hall of Fame. And I think that's part of the reason why he's not in right now.
Well, my question to you is, do you agree with or disagree with T.O. not getting in? Oh, because you know what he was doing. He was bowling. ESPN had some bowling tournament with some stars and some football players, him and Ocho Cinco and the guy that played Michael Orr in The Blind Side, and they were out there bowling on ESPN while the NFL honors, and he had just found out that he was not going to be inducted, and then had to go live at this bowling thing, and they kept interviewing about it, all that stuff. But how do you feel about that? Because I don't know that we 100% agree on this.
Well, I mean, I think what needs to happen is the NFL or the voting committee or whoever really is running the Hall of Fame rules, they need to make it clear for what is the full guidelines on how you get in. What are the parameters exactly? Are you just going off of stats? Are you going off of championships? Are you going off of rings? Are you just going off of, hey, he's a good person on and off the field? Is character the biggest thing? What are the main criteria? What are the main points for someone to be in or not in? Because if it is just off of personality or how they handle themselves, I think there are some people in the Hall of Fame right now that are questionable people that maybe you would say, if they're going off of today's terms, would not be in the Hall of Fame, but they're in right now, so you can't go back and take them off. So I guess, I don't know, I want there to be consistency on what the guidelines are for you to get in the Hall of Fame.
Well, you know the old phrase that the only constant in life is change. And I think it is fair for the Hall of Famers to say, look, the standard now, because there's over 300 people in there, 310 now, and there's 170 still living. I think it's fair to say that the standard now, because we have so many great players, is that the locker room is an extension of the field. And maybe they're not just saying your personal life necessarily, but if you are in the locker room, that has a lot to do with who you are as a player. And I think that's why T.O. is getting punished, because he didn't tear up one locker room reportedly. And I don't know this, but from all reports, he tore up every locker room he was in. 49ers, Eagles, and Cowboys. Like, yeah. Didn't just go in there and show his behind, actually created strife. And that's part of the reason he's not been in as a first round or second round. But I do want to say this real quick. I feel like there are people, we just found Chris Carter took 6 ballots to get in. The great Shannon Sharp took 3 ballots to get in. Lynn Swann took 14 ballots to get in. So T.O. needs to, in my estimation, realize that a lot of his antics are going to hurt him in the voting. It just doesn't mean he's never going to get in. It just means he didn't get in first or second ballot. But he'll be in eventually, I think.
Well, and I think the line is set about really how you interact inside the locker room and who you are off the field and how you carry yourself. I think, again, I don't think it's fair, because I do think that there are people that are in the Hall of Fame that are just as disruptive or just as questionable as far as character goes off the field as Terrell Owens. And I think when you're just talking about production on the football field, there should be no question. And I think that's the big thing. It's like when you're an athlete and you do what you're supposed to do and you do it at the highest level with success, you should be rewarded for that. And so I think there needs to be some consistency there. I think they need to be able to say, hey, from here on out, it does matter how you handle yourself in the locker room, how owners and other teammates and players, etc.,
perceive you, right,
take you as who you are. If you are a disruptive person and you don't do things the right way, it will hurt you down the road. And so I just think that needs to be a legitimate stance from here on out. And so future kids or athletes will know that, hey, you've got to be able to really conduct yourself the right way.
But don't you feel like a Hall of Famer should instinctively know that? Like, I don't feel like someone should have had to say to T.O., hey, don't come in here, show your behind, and tear up the locker room at three different teams and organizations. That's something you shouldn't have to say to a Hall of Fame person.
I agree, but then we need to look back at the people that are still in and say, look at this person's past, look at that person's past, and say, well, how are they in if Terrell Owens is not in as well?
And
I think you have to, you can't just say, oh, for this one guy, now they're not going to be put in.
But I do think sometimes
you have to look at that.
Well, I think it is sometimes this one guy, because this one guy did it to 3 different teams.
But then there's other guys that did that to multiple teams as well. Terrell Owens is just the latest guy to do that.
I think he was the worst one, is what I think.
I don't know about that. I think you have to go back in the archives and really look at that.
But if no name is popping out, if no name is popping to your head, then that tells you there wasn't anybody who did it at his level.
Owens is the most recent one, and he's the one that has who he is who he is. And so I think he's a bigger target for what's going on today.
Well, he needs to just be patient, be a model citizen from here on out. He'll get in eventually.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be left out forever, but I think right now they're just saying, hey,
there's
you're
a point
not
to be
getting
made
in right now. And
hey, how you act in the locker room, that's an extension of the field.
As well.
Exactly.
And so you're just going to have to wait your turn. So.
Well, and character has to count. That's what I love about the great game of football is that we're not just building up strong men. We're bringing up men of character, and that has to count.
Yeah, it definitely
And you've been in locker rooms where somebody showed out and you don't, you don't
agree with someone just doing their own thing and being disruptive. I don't think that's something that needs to be rewarded. But
well, congratulations to everyone who made it. Congratulations. It was really nice seeing the historically black college universities, and it was just a great weekend. The NFL, they brought the pageantry back. They put the bowl back in Super Bowl, and I was very proud of them for that.
They did. It was a great weekend.
It was a great weekend.
We were really excited to have the Super Bowl.
Next year, let's go. Isn't it in Minnesota next year?
It's in Minnesota, US Bank, so we'll see what happens. We just want to say we appreciate your time.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, folks.